The sun was already high and merciless over Raleigh, North Carolina, casting diamond-shaped light beams through the towering windows of Crown Dominion Bank. Everything inside sparkled, marble floors buffed to a mirror shine, glass walls with gold trim, chandeliers dripping crystal like frozen rain, and the unmistakable air of money, power, and privilege. It was the kind of place designed not just to store wealth, but to display it, to intimidate anyone who didn't carry themselves with absolute certainty. And that's exactly how Naomi Bradford walked in. Her oxblood heels clacked against the polished granite with military precision. Her Suida custom-fitted charcoal ensemble that moved like liquid armor spoke the language of boardrooms and battlefields. A brushed silver watch hugged her wrist, catching the light like a blade, and in her left hand, she held a smooth leather briefcase that had seen war rooms, strategy meetings, and investor summits. Naomi wasn't here to play games. She was here for a straightforward transaction, a withdrawal of $75,000 in cash immediately. She was 45, CEO, and founder of Strateton Globala cybersecurity powerhouse valued at $700 million. But that wasn't written on her forehead. To anyone glancing her way, she might have been just another executive with a schedule to keep. She approached the counter, where a young teller named Bryce sat chewing gum slowly, his badge pinned askew. He barely looked up at first, then did a double take. Something about Naomi seemed to challenge his assumptions, and he didn't like it. "Can I help you?" he asked, slow and disinterested. "I need to withdraw $75,000 from my personal account," Naomi said, placing her ID and her platinum Crown Dominion card on the counter. Her voice was calm, measured, unimpressed. Bryce froze. He picked up her ID with 2 fingers like it was possibly forged and squinted at it, then at her, then at the screen. 75,000, he repeated loudly. Heads turned. A woman filling out deposit slips at the nearby island stopped mid-sentence. A man in a navy suit looked over from the espresso machine, coffee in hand. Bryce smirked. "That's a big number. You sure this is your account?" Naomi didn't blink. "It's mine. I checked the balance this morning." Bryce's smile widened, arrogant and dismissive. "Ma'am," he said with a condescending chuckle, "I'm not seeing anything close to that in here. Are you sure you're not thinking of a different bank? There's a First Carolina branch just down the street." Naomi's jaw tightened, not in anger, but in resolve. She'd seen this before. The look, the tone, the assumptions. It wasn't new. "Run it again," she said evenly. "Primary account. Naomi Bradford." "It's there." Bryce leaned back in his chair and folded his arms. "Ma'am, I'm telling you I don't see it. And we can't just hand over cash because someone says they've got it." He glanced at her briefcase with an air of theatrical suspicion, like it was filled with fake checks and Monopoly money. Naomi leaned in just enough to make him squirm. "You're telling me that Crown Dominion, a bank that's handled Strateton Global's accounts for 15 years, can't find the account tied to my name? The one your CEO personally flew to D.C. to pitch me on?" Bryce blinked. Then, sensing he was on shaky ground, he snorted. "Strateton, huh? Yeah, I've heard of that company. Doesn't mean you run it." He laughed to dry, cutting sound that echoed off the glass walls. Gasps trickled through the room. Naomi didn't flinch. "Get your manager," she said coldly. "Right," Bryce replied with a mock salute. "Be right back." He left her ID and card on the counter like trash and disappeared behind a frosted glass door. Naomi stood still, straight back, proud. The room had grown tense, the way it does before a thunderstorm. Eyes were on her now, curious, suspicious, expectant. Security edged closer, hand near his radio. Another teller had stopped counting money, openly watching. This wasn't just inconvenience. It was theater. One she'd been cast in before without her consent. And she was done with that. After what felt like an eternity, the office door opened and a woman in a tailored navy blazer walked out briskly. Her hair was a sculpted blonde helmet, and her name tag read, Elaine Morton, branch manager. MS. Bradford, Elaine said coolly. "I understand there's an issue." "No issue," Naomi replied. "Your teller says my money isn't there. I'd like you to fix it." Elaine's smile was brittle, professional, and razor-sharp. For withdrawals of that size, we require extra verification, she said sweetly. Standard procedure, of course. I'm sure you understand. What I understand, Naomi said, her voice calm but dangerously low, is that I've withdrawn larger sums from this branch without issue. The only thing different today is your attitude. Elaine's mask didn't crack. It's policy. No, it's profiling, Naomi shot back. You see my ID. You see my card. You have access to my portfolio. This isn't about policy. This is about perception. The manager's expression flickered for a brief moment's recognition. Guilt? But she didn't back down. Ma'am, she said sharply, if you don't have further documentation, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. The word hung in the air like smoke. Naomi's eyes narrowed. She didn't move. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. She pulled her phone from her blazer pocket and dialed. The lobby was still as death. Richard, she said when the line picked up. It's Naomi. I'm at your Raleigh branch, and your staff are refusing to give me access to my money. $75,000. They've implied I'm a fraud and are preparing to have me escorted out. She paused. Fix it. Now. She ended the call. The seconds ticked by. Elaine shifted from foot to foot. The security guard hesitated. Bryce reappeared, now pale. Then the branch's main phone rang. Elaine lunged to answer it. Yes, sir, yes, I didn't realize, of course, right away. She hung up, her face ashen. MS. Bradford, she said, her voice suddenly small. There's been a misunderstanding. Your account has been verified. The funds are ready. Naomi raised an eyebrow. A misunderstanding? Elaine gulped. I sincerely apologize. No, Naomi said, cutting her off. You don't get to call this a misunderstanding. You made a choice. You saw me, and you assumed I didn't belong here. Elaine opened her mouth, then closed it. Bryce returned from the vault, holding a black case. He set it down gently, like an offering. 75,000, ma'am, he mumbled. In hundreds. I'm sorry. Naomi checked the case, nodded once, then looked him dead in the eye. You try to erase me. I hope you remember what it feels like to be wrong. She turned and walked out. The lobby parted like water around her. The security guard held the door open, his mouth slightly open as if to speak, but Naomi didn't acknowledge him. By noon, Crown Dominion Bank was in chaos. Richard Tanner, the CEO, called an emergency board meeting. Executives scrambled to review security footage, update logs, and prepare for damage control. Naomi didn't answer his calls. She didn't have to. Back at her office, she placed the steel case on her desk like a war trophy. Her assistant, Malik, poked his head in. Whole Twitter's buzzing, he said. No names dropped, but people are calling you the woman who made a bank bow. You want to say something? Naomi didn't look up. Let them talk. I've got work to do. Later that day, she delivered the case to a construction site, downtown her nonprofit's future tech hub for underserved youth. She handed the cash to the project manager herself. This will change lives, the woman said. That's the point, Naomi replied. Back at Crown Dominion, Elaine was suspended. Bryce was demoted to data processing. A full audit of the branch was launched. Bias training rolled out company-wide. It was a start, but Naomi didn't want apologies. She wanted change. She moved $20 million in assets to Liberty First, a black-owned bank she'd known about for years. Quietly, strategically. 2 weeks later, Richard Tanner finally got his meeting. Naomi met him in a sterile downtown office. No frills, no warmth. We're changing, he said. Policy, training, transparency. We want to rebuild trust. Naomi sipped her tea. You've written my name in your annual reports for years, she said. It's time you started respecting what it means. Then she stood, shook his hand once, and left. Months passed. The Youth Tech Hub opened to fanfare. Kids lined up to code, create, imagine. Naomi stood in the back, watching a girl build her first app. No speeches, no cameras, just pride. She still kept that withdrawal receipt. Not out of anger, but as a reminder. Power doesn't ask. Power doesn't wait. It walks in, demands its due, and leaves the door open for others. And Naomi Bradford? She wasn't just walking through. She was building a whole new bank.